Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a special treat for you. We're going to be canning butter today, and I'm actually going to be using a pressure canner. This is going to be real fun. We're going to have a good time doing this, but I did want to show you what I'm going to be using. So for today's cannings, we're going to be using, I've got both salted and unsalted butter. I just went to the grocery store, and I believe you can tell what grocery store that is, and just bought some butter, and this is what they have. I prefer the salted, but you can always add salt to the unsalted. So I just had what they had. So what we're going to be doing is just open the packets, and I'm just going to be melting the butter. So let's go and get started on that. I've got a pot set up over here. Let's go and just kind of tear these old sticks open. Go ahead and cut my heat on, and what I'm wanting to do is I just want to melt this butter. I don't want to boil it or burn it, anything. And believe it or not, butter will actually burn pretty easy. So I'm just going to kind of cut it on medium heat, where we can just do a slow melt. And let me get this started, and I'll come right back to you, okay? So while I'm sitting here opening up this butter and letting it melt, let's talk about why someone would want to can butter. You normally think of this as being something that you put in the refrigerator and leave, but did you know that butter can be kept up to 5 years in storage without refrigeration if you can it properly? And so that's what we're doing. And you know that just about anything you want to cook almost requires butter, whether you want to bake some kind of bread or make a cake or even fix some kind of batter. But just about, I mean, even if it comes to cooking, butter's a great thing to use to cook. So anytime you're trying to do a long time food storage, you would definitely want to include butter into that. So this is just a easy way to do that, and it doesn't matter how much refrigeration space you have. If you know how to can this properly, then we can keep butter for 5 years. So let me get this pot filled up. I'm almost done opening all these up. We've got 6 pounds of butter. That ought to make about 6 pints. All right, well, that took long enough, but it was easy well enough. So like I said, we're just going to slowly melt this butter. Boiling it is something you don't want to do, and we're not trying to cook it. We're just trying to get it into a liquid state, and it's actually melting pretty fast. You could actually cut your sticks up, make them go a little bit faster, but this does fine for me. I'm in no hurry today. It's only going to, I'll say within 5 minutes this will be done. So we'll sit here and finish this up real quick, and then we'll be ready to fill up our jars. Everybody, while I'm waiting on this butter to melt, I just want to take a second and just tell all y'all, thank y'all so much for the ones of y'all who have subscribed to my channel and follows my videos. You don't know how much that means. It helps me build my channel. I know sometimes on here I'm a bumbling idiot. It's actually hard to stand in front of a camera and just talk to a piece of equipment and make it look like that I'm talking to you. But that's the way I want to feel. I want you to feel like you're invited into my home and I'm actually talking to you. So as my channel grows and I do this more, I will get more comfortable, and hopefully I'll become a better speaker, not be so long-winded. And I apologize to y'all for the ones that's had to deal with that. But if you would, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, right down there, if you move your mouse or your finger, make that thing come up where you can hit the subscribe button. You don't know how much I would appreciate that. It helps build my channel. It makes the channel grow faster. And at some point it will hopefully earn me some tractor money, which I desperately would love to have. But once again, thank y'all. I love every one of you. And I'll get back to canning some butter now. Thank you. All right, here we are. We got our butters. Oh, I see one little piece floating around in there somewhere. If you watch some of the other videos, people will take this part of the butter and try to skim it off. I don't want to remove any of the butter that's in here away from it. I want to can every bit of it. I want everything that it come with. So I'm just going to leave that in. And it looks like there's just a little bit more in there. But I believe it can go ahead and be melting while we're doing the rest of it. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this down to simmer to make sure that we don't get to, it looks like it almost wants to start boiling a little bit, and I don't want it to do that. So we'll go ahead and I'll get a ladle out, and we'll commence to filling up these jars. So I've got some jars ready here. Let's go ahead and put let me see if I can get y'all where y'all can see real well. All right, so I've got my jars here. I've got a ladle. Let me bring this a little bit closer to my pot where I don't pour it all over the place quite as much. And we're just gonna start filling our jars up. All right, I want about an inch head space on my jar. So to about the bottom of that ridge line there. Give me another jar over here. And oh my goodness, it smells so good. It smells like going to a movie theater. It's that fresh butter. Everybody, I highly recommend having one of these funnels. It's hard not to make a mess not having it, but it just makes it so much easier having one of these wide mouth funnels. You can usually get a kit that has everything you need for canning in it, including the funnel, and it'll have the pickups for picking your jars up. All right, let's get finished up here. All right. Didn't quite fill all these up. I got this a little bit more butter. I'm gonna kind of try to add this a little more to a few of these. That foam is starting to settle down, so it's giving me a little bit more room. All right, let's set this over in the sink. All right, so we've got our jars here. The next thing we'll do is just get just a little bit of vinegar, because there might be a little bit of fat or something on the top of these. So I'm just gonna get a paper towel, a little bit of vinegar on it, and just kind of wipe the rim of each one of these jars off, just to make sure that it gets a good seal. Get a little bit more on there. And we don't want it just soaking wet. We don't want vinegar actually getting down in our butter. I don't remember if I did this one or not. But it don't hurt to wipe it 2 times. All right, we got our tops clean. Throw this paper towel away. Now what we'll do is we'll just take our lids and put it on our jars. And we just want it on there just finger tight. We're not trying to really cinch them down much. You just kind of want to go to where it just stops turning. And that's plenty tight enough. You can put your lids on there first and then your rings, or you can do like I'm doing and just do both of them. A little bit easier for me to do them both at one time. All right, let me get the camera set up on top of our canner here where you can see what we're doing. I'm gonna kind of clean some of this butter up that I've dripped on the counter before my wife gets home and gets upset at me. And I'll come back to you and we'll see how this canning process goes. Okay, everybody, I use a Presto canner. I'm doing my canning. I'll put a link down here in the description where you can purchase one of these. It's a pretty inexpensive canner, and it does really well. Canner / pressure cooker, and I'll kind of show you a little bit how to use it. But I want to talk to you why I'm pressure canning butter. If you watch any of the other videos, or maybe watch your grandmother do canning and stuff, you'll see some people, they do different things where they just melt the butter and they take their jars and put them in the oven and heat them up. It says it kills the bacteria on them, or some of them puts it on the steam cycle on their dishwasher and says it sterilizes it that way. Well, I work in the medical field. I'm actually a nurse, and from what I know from preventing bacteria or any kind of other viruses or anything, is if you take something and you sterilize it and you touch it with something that's not sterile, for instance a funnel, then it becomes non-sterile. And if I'm doing this for food preservation, how you like that word, preservation, I can keep this butter up to 5 years. Well, 5 years from now, when I go, do I want to have to worry about the fact of, hey, did my food get contaminated or not? Well, using a pressure canner, anytime you're killing any kind of spores, whether it's fungus, bacteria, viruses. The one proven method of doing it is using heat and pressure. And that's why they use autoclaves to sterilize equipment and stuff. So whatever I put inside of this is going to become sterilized, and what's inside of those jars is sterile. And I know 5 years from now when I open it up, it's going to be sterile. It's not going to have any growth in it, and it's going to be safe for me and my family to eat. So I'm not saying that the other people are incorrect. I'm just going off of my experience and my beliefs. And I want to make sure whatever my family is going to be eating years down the road, that they're safe. And I know that if I do this, that they're going to be safe. So let's get to it and show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the lid on my canner. And there's a little bitty small line right down here. Let me bring you and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, something that doesn't show up well inside this canner is there's a line. This right there. That's the fill line with our water, where whenever we're going to be doing canning. And so I'm just going to take some water and pour it in here and get it up to that line. I believe it holds about 6 cups of water. And there's 4 cups, and it's already almost to that point, so it might not quite be 6 cups. We'll see. All right, where that line? I'd say it's about 5 cups of water. Now what I'm gonna do is I've got one of these little trays that I'm gonna set down in here, and all that does is it keeps when it starts bubbling down here in the bottom, it keeps it from rolling and jiggling and tearing up our jars. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my eye on my stove and let that water be heating up and getting up to a boil. And I'm going to take my jars and go ahead and set them in here and get them lined up. Now take them, kind of space them out a little evenly. All right then, so now all I'm gonna do is just let the water come up to a boil, and then I'll reduce my heat down, and we'll put the lid on it. Okay, so I've got the heat set on high right now, and as you can see, we're starting to have some bubbles starting to form, and we got steam coming up, and that steam, that's the main thing we're looking for. So we're ready to put our lid on and let the pressure start building up in here. You don't have to wait till it's at a rolling boil, but I'm just gonna take my lid, I'm gonna set it on here, and then I will take and turn the lid until it meets right there and it's locked. So let me show you now what we're looking to happen. Okay, so here we are with our canner. A couple things we're waiting to happen. We're going to wait and watch for steam to start coming out this vent hole. And when it does that, that's going to let us know that it's almost time for us to put our weight on here. We'll put on weight that's going to cause it to get the pressure. If there's some that has the weights that are actually weighted in like 5, 10, 15 pound increments. Mine's just a simple weight, and I work off of a pressure gauge. In my area where I'm at, we like to have it 11 pounds per square inch of pressure, and that's because I'm at less than 1,000 feet sea level. But the main thing we're looking for is this little valve right here. It's going to pop up whenever it's under pressure, and at that point, once that pops up, we're not going to even think about opening this thing. That means it's under pressure and it will hurt you. So I know people like to think of this as being a bomb. Not really. It's only going to be under 10 pounds of pressure, which is not much, but you don't want escaping steam to blast out at you and hit you with pressure. It will hurt you, it will burn you, and it won't be good. But you're not going to have shrapnel go everywhere unless somehow you were able to seal this off and let pressure keep building up to 500 pounds of pressure. So don't be scared of it, that it's so dangerous, but understand you don't want to open up something that's under pressure, because if that pressure releases with hot steam, it's going to hurt you. Mainly it's going to burn you. So we're just going to wait for this to pop up. We're going to wait for steam to come out. Once the steam starts coming out, we want a good, steady, constant steam. Right now it's just barely coming out. It's going to bubble a little bit. That's okay. We expect that. But once it starts just rolling out constantly, we're going to let it go for 10 minutes like that, and to make sure that it's staying constant, and then we'll take our weight and put our weight on top of it. So let's let this pop up and let the pressure build up. I'll try to catch this pop up so you can see what I'm talking about as it happens, and we'll go from there. When you know it's getting close to popping up, you'll start seeing water start leaking out around it, and it'll kind of start bubbling just a little bit. See, as we're talking, it started bubbling. Now probably as we're talking, this thing is probably gonna pop up. See, boy, it's really rolling out now. I think I spoke just a little bit too early about how soon it'll pop out. From the time I started talking, we've had about 2 minutes go by, but there is a large amount of steam coming out of it now. Here it comes, and it's sealed. We're totally under pressure now. So now the steam that's coming out of this is going to get a lot steadier, and once it becomes, right now it's just kind of almost like a choo-choo train where it's just kind of sputtering, but it's getting more steady. Once it gets to be just constant straight stream, that's hard to say without getting tongue-tied. A constant straight stream. Okay, so but you can probably hear it. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I think you can see it right there. It's going to get faster and faster and a little bit louder, and that's what we're watching for and listening for. But there's still some sputters in it. We want it where it's just constant. All right, as you see, we've got just a constant, steady stream of pressure now. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. We'll come back in 10 minutes, and then we'll put our weight back on. So let me get my timer started. We'll start our timing now, and I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay, this is going to be quick, but I want you to watch what I do here. We've got just a few minutes till our timer's up, or a few seconds till our timer's up. I've got my weight here. We've been going 10 minutes. You see the steam is coming out of it real heavily. So what we're going to do, as soon as the timer goes off, I'm going to take my weight and I'm just going to throw it on there like that. I'm immediately going to cut my heat down to simmer. We'll bring it over here. We're going to start watching our pressure gauge. I said my ideal heat is 11. So we want this heat to come up slowly. So I'm just going to barely turn. I've got mine on 2. I'm going to let it start creeping up. With me on my stove, between 3 and 4 is where my temperature needs to be set for mine to be at 11. But with yours, you're gonna have to play with it, and the easiest way to play with it is by going very slow. It's okay to go too slow instead of having it come all the way around here. You don't want it to get down in caution. It's okay to go over a little bit and then slowly back it up. But once it gets to 11, you don't want it to drop back down past that. It's okay if it goes up above it a little bit. And depending on your area, you may be 15 or something like that. We just have to see where you're at. You're gonna have a little bit of bubbling like this, maybe up under your weight. That's okay also. We expect to see that. But what we're gonna do is just have this heat slowly come up. Mine right now is about 3. So it's coming up about the temperature that I want it to. Once mine reaches temp, which like I said, mine's 11, we're gonna start a timer for 75 minutes. Anytime you're using pint jars, your amount of time is gonna be 75 or an hour and 15 minutes. If you're using quart jars, it's gonna go up to 90 minutes or an hour and a half. And at that length of time, that kills off all the spores that would be in your food or on the jar or on the lids or any of that. So let's slowly get this heat up and then we'll go from there. All right, as you can see, we've hit 11 pounds, which is right where I want to be. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here and set me a timer for 75 minutes. And we'll start that timer. And just you can kind of go around and do things around the house. You don't have to sit here and just stare at it for the next hour and 15 minutes, but you do want to kind of stay with it and make sure that it doesn't drop below 11 pounds. If it does, just start your time over again. But so I guess, you know, every 15 minutes or so, just come glance at it, make sure it hasn't dropped down. And so after our time is elapsed, we'll come back and I'll show you what to do then. That's probably one of the most important steps that we can do is after our time's up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a minute. Okay, time's up. Cut timer off, and also this is where we want to just turn our heat off. All right, so now that we have our heat turned off, this is the most aggravating part of the whole system. Is now we're just gonna have to walk away. You want to sit here and stare at it and wait for it to hurry up and get done. This thing's not going to get in a rush. What we've got to do is we've got to have our pressure drop all the way back down to 0, and then after it does that, then our little valve here will fall. Until that happens, we don't want to do anything. The best thing to do right now, like I told you earlier, is kind of keep an eye on everything. Not now. Now's the time you just want to walk away, go do whatever you got to do, run the store, what you need to do. Everything's going to be okay. We need this pressure to drop down, and until it does, we're not going to do nothing. So just like I'm going to do right now, just walk away. All right, we're back here at my canner. The pressure's all the way down to 0. You notice the little top is down. I've got a little drying mat here that we're going to use to pull this butter out with, because it's going to be extremely hot. The one important thing that I want to show you about this is when we take this off, I'm just going to turn the handle to loosen it. There's still going to be some steam in there. It's very hot. So what I'm going to do is, when I don't want it to come back and hit me in the face, so never just pick it up. When you pick it up pick it up this way. Pick it up away from you and let that steam right that way. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna turn it like that, and then I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna turn it back away from me and let all that steam roll up that way. All right, then I'm gonna take my lid and just set it out of the way. All right, so I'm gonna bring you a little bit closer, and all right, so you can see we got our jars in here. I use one of these things right here to help me get it out. Like I said, they sell them in them little kits. What I'm gonna reach in here and pull one of them out and set it out here on this drying mat. I'm gonna do it with all of these. All right, let me bring you down here a little closer and let you look at what we got going on. All right, here we are. So this butter, you see this thing is still boiling here, and you see these bubbles with the air still trying to escape out. Let me show you something. I'm gonna pick this up and bring it in a little bit closer and show you something. So we've got two parts of it. This is the fatty part of the butter, and this is the clarified part. And this part here is great for cooking stuff. If you were to separate it, that's outside of canning, that's just in the real world. But what we're going to have to do with this over time is we're going to have to take it and mix it up as it starts trying to cool off. So we'll get it all mixed up and get it mixed back together. But I just want to show you what it looked like when it comes straight out of the canner. And the most important thing that we want to know is these lids. Make sure that none of them clicks whenever you push down on it, and that means that they're sealed. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let these things set out for about 12 hours and let them cool down. About every 3 hours, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna shake them up. You can use one of them things, one of these holders like I was showing you, or of course you can just get you a towel of some kind and shake it and mix it up. But yeah, we want to keep all those parts mixed up, and as it starts cooling off, it'll be a lot easier to do. But you know, see the color difference in that one between these other ones. All right, so it's just a waiting game now, and after about 12 hours I'll take it and I'll actually put it in the refrigerator, let it start cooling that way. I'm gonna put what it is and today's date on it, and so I'll just give you an update here after a while, after it cools off some, and then we'll show you the finished product here a little bit later on this video. Okay, our butter has cooled off, so now then what we can do is we can take this and we're just gonna shake it up real good and just mix up the contents. We're just gonna separate the fat here from the clarified butter, and so we just want to make sure that it's totally mixed up. We're just going to do this to all of them. And it's cool enough now, we can go ahead and take our jar lids off of them. The rate that I did it, you see how easy it is to take it off, and them things not going to come off. I mean, it takes surprising to get them off, so because they're on there sealed so good. Just gonna mix our butter up. Like I said, you can put it in the refrigerator and speed the process up, but you kind of got to be more vigilant. I guess that's the word. Look for. You got to be more persistent with keeping it mixed up, because you don't want it to You don't want it to dry like that. You actually want it to form back into butter inside the jars. So about every hour, I'll come back and do that till it gets congealed and actually forms into solid butter. Okay, all of our butter is ready for storage now. As you can see, it's congealed, looks good, got a good seal on it, and it's ready to go to storage. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot from it. As always, I love you, God loves you, and I hope you have a great day.